by the DFFE. We've provided the relevant input. I don't want to talk on behalf of DFFE, but I know they were in process of doing it, and for consultations, the indication was that will happen somewhere from August, September, but I don't want to talk for them. Then if we go to the next slide, it's part 3 of the presentation. Yeah, I'll be talking about CAPSWIP. This is the settlement model, which we piloted for forestry sector, and we piloted on all the outstanding sectors because we realized the settlements we have developed are not sustainable, Chairperson. So basically what has happened is that for forestry specifically, it was the Kaapsehoop project, which is a Safcol project. This project, that is just the description of the project. It is in Kaapsehoop. It's close to, in Mpumalanga, it's close to Nelspruit. It has got about 81 verified households. The land is owned by Public Works, and Safcol is the management authority. There's a phase 1 that was paid of financial compensation, which is a small town village, which was not restorable. And then the phase 2 is what the modeling was about, which is the land restoration of about 1,199 hectares. If we then just go to the next slide, if we move to the next slide, that is just for members to note just the scenery, some photos, how the project looks specifically. And if we move to the next slide, it's basically some of the outcomes that came from the settlement model for forestry specifically, which will now be utilized in all future forestry settlement. We have identified the relationships between the management authority and the CPA, how the sort of transactions that must be in place, the sort of institutional support that must be in place, and the financial support that must be in place. We've also identified specifically for Safcol because the matters regarding them today, key 4 areas where Safcol should be engaging the claimant community, which is upstream before entering into Safcol's value chain, basically, and also issues related to conservation, tourism, unplanted areas, and then also downstream the utilization of Safcol final projects. That is basically it. The initiative of the pilot model assisted us in the settlement of the claim. The claim is currently in the commission for settlement. Once the claim is settlement, we'll move towards the transfer of that property into the name of the community. So there's basically a section 42D that is currently being approved. Then if we then move to the next slide, Chairperson, that was the feedback on the presentation regarding the forestry matter, regarding the background of the commission, regarding the statistical information of the commission. When it comes to Richtersveld, colleagues from the Land Claims Commission in Northern Cape is here, the provincial head and Mr. Lawrence introduced themselves, but before I hand over to them, just to present the last few slides, Chairperson, 3 claims were lodged in the Richtersveld before the 1998 cutoff date. There was basically claims that fell on land mined and operated by Alexkor, which is a state-owned entity that has been settled via the deed of settlement via court order. There's also a mining lease from Transex Farm in Richtersveld, which is currently in progress. And then there's also the remainder of portion 10 of the farm Grootderm, which is currently in progress. Let me then hand over to Dr. De Tooy and Mr. Andrew Lawrence just to present the last few slides regarding this matter before I come back in. Dr. De Tooy and Mr. Lawrence.
Good morning, honorable members.